Last name is Moore, yeah.
Welcome to the Holistic Kid Show. My name is Zane.
My name is Abdullah.
And I'm Imad.
We're the Holistic Kids here to educate us kids from the inside out.
Let's face it, most kids have social media. Up to 95% of youth ages 13 to 17 report using a social media platform, with more than a third saying that they use social media almost constantly. And 57% of Gen Z want to be influencers.
But we've talked a lot about the mental, physical, social, and spiritual effects of social media. Most kids are going to do it anyway. So, how do we protect ourselves in this world of social media?
We have the perfect guest with us today, and he is a social media influencer and a health professional here to help us take care about our bodies while using social media.
Dr. Jaban's extensive professional and postdoctoral training spans true cellular healing, chiropractic plus kinesiology, applied kinesiology, clinical kinesiology, acupuncture, bioresonance therapy, rehabilitation, functional medicine, and blood laboratory analysis. His continuous education includes courses on mastering functional blood chemistry, mastering thyroid, mastering brain chemistry, and even training with experts in Lyme disease and parasitology. And he's doing an amazing job educating the world with his social media platform. So we're super honored to have him with us today.
So honored.
So honored. How does
Well,
it?
guys, thanks.
Uh,
How does he do it?
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's our pleasure.
It's our pleasure. Well, that is what we're going to ask him today. Thank you so much, Dr. Moore, for joining us today. We love how you have done so much. We would love to know your story.
So my story, well, when I was a young guy, 5 years old, I decided I wanted to be a doctor. And I didn't really probably know what that meant back then, but I wanted to help people. I wanted to be able to make them feel well. By the time I was 10, my mom got really, really sick with a lot of chronic diseases, depression. But basically as a child, I grew up and she was stuck on the couch, not feeling well, not feeling good. So I ended up going to school, doing pre-med. And as I came home and started looking at the different types of treatments she was going through, the different difficulties she was dealing with, the more educated I got, the more I realized that so much of the things that we have on a day-to-day basis is lifestyle. Whether it's the fact that, I don't know, I think the last time I read a study, 10% of kids are dealing with some sort of anxiety or depression. 10% are dealing with ADHD. It's actually 1 in 5 kids are dealing with a mental health issue. And then 1 in 6 are on some kind of medication. So when you start thinking about these stats, why are kids so sick? Well, 75% of adults have a chronic illness at this point. Just because, by the way, it's common doesn't mean it's normal. It's not normal for kids or adults to be this sick. I know when I was younger, and I don't feel like I'm that old, but I'm older than you guys. I'm 38 years old now. When I was young, autism was 1 in about 10,000. It was not very common. When I was in school, we had 1 kid in the entire school, and I went to an elementary school that had 500 or 600 kids. There was 1 in the entire school that you could actually visually see that this person was autistic, right? Like you knew that they didn't necessarily from a distance fit in the class. Now, diagnoses have changed. So maybe there's more people that are getting diagnosed with autism at lesser levels. But I know when I talk to kids, they're saying it's not too uncommon to see numerous people in their classes, maybe 2, 3, 4 in a class of 30 diagnosed with autism. Is that what your guys' experience have been?
yes.
Yeah, it's a lot more now.
Yeah, and so now they're saying it's 1 in 32, 1 in 50. So something's happening. Something is changing what is happening to the body, and it's at a developmental stage. It's to children. It's not just to adults.
And that's why I want to ask you the question, how does autism have to do with social media?
So,
well, at least mental health, how is, sorry, but let me rephrase the question. How is the mental health and social media connected? Especially
So mental health
autism.
and mental health and
sorry.
social media have a lot of connections. They have done a lot of studies with social media. They've done a lot of case studies with social media. And you actually start looking at even other countries. So the United States, we don't do this yet, but there are other countries that I've got clients coming in, and their first recommendation for kids that are having difficulties in schools, whether that be behavior that seems autistic, ADHD, ODD, which is defiance, kids that just don't want to follow directions, like get them away from all forms of social media, TV, technology. So get them away from computers and phones. And that's the first beginning step of the treatment plans. And it's working. I can't tell you how many kids have come in that grades have dropped. They're defiant. They're not doing well. I mean, sometimes these kids are 5, 6, 7, 8. So they're not intellectually able to go, hey, yeah, I feel better off of social media, but their behavior shows it. And what we're seeing is, well, social media, as you scroll your phone, I mean, how many people you see stuck doing this all day long, or just going through TikToks and reels? This is affecting your dopamine in your brain. So this is changing the way that your neurotransmitters work. And if you don't know what a neurotransmitter is, it's a little tiny chemical your body makes. It makes it in the digestive tract. And then that neurotransmitter goes into your brain. And dopamine is the addictive one. It's the one that gives you happiness when you eat a chocolate bar, when you get ice cream, when you win an award, when somebody praises you and you're excited. So if you have that hormone going up every time you're scrolling, you're starting to get addicted. And social media do this on purpose. They change the algorithm constantly to bring information back to you, or reels or TikToks or whatever it is that you like. I know I was just talking to a server at a restaurant. She said, oh, my favorite social media is this, oh gosh, what was it called? Some sort of like brain crack. And it was AI generated fluffy animals dancing on the screen. I'm like, this does nothing for you. This has no level of education. This has no level of benefit, but she watches it all day. But then she talks about being stressed and feeling nervous and not being able to connect to people as well. And you start thinking about why this is happening. It's the hormones that are being created, the dopamine spiking. So the addiction is created, but then now you're constantly searching for that. You can go to the phone and get it. How do you get that otherwise? It's actually creating these really bad patterns. I mean, that's just one of the many pieces of the puzzle. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think that what you're saying is true, right?
Yeah, so true. Especially at school when people are on it all days, like all day, and they come to school, and I think they started a no phone in school. Like you have to put that on the pocket, and a lot of times they just don't know how to interact with people. So
Yeah.
it's really sad that it came to this.
You can see that in high school, especially. Everyone's just like entire day like this. So they walk in the hallways like this, with their head down all time.
You know, it as you go into this and we start looking at interaction between humans or animals, or what benefit that brings to us, we've realized and we've learned, I mean, why do people like to hold babies? It releases hormones. You get a nice little oxytocin release. This allows for you to feel like that love for the child, that happiness. Everybody wants to hold a baby, right? Especially when they're not crying, of course. When they're just being cute, everybody loves baby. Well, you get the same thing when you are in a relationship. So when you're touching somebody that you love, when you are in love, you get similar types of hormone responses. And this is being replaced by a phone, but you can't get, at least to my knowledge, you can't get the same oxytocin. So you're stuck doing this all day for that dopamine addiction, but you're not getting the oxytocin. You're not getting all of the beneficial hormones from interacting with people. You're not getting the endorphins even from, say, things like exercise, because you're not out running around and moving. They've even proven that the number one thing to decrease depression is exercise. So now we're spiking dopamine in our brain, which makes us addicted to it, but it also makes other things in life not seem as good. So your chocolate, your ice cream, your award, you're getting an A on a test, you're making your parents proud isn't as good because that dopamine spike that you get from that isn't as constant and long-term as other things. So then now you're also not getting oxytocin from interactions with touching people. And this can be appropriate touching, right? This is hugging your mom or your dad. This is, sitting on the couch next to your siblings. You get these positive hormone releases. But if you're stuck on a phone in your room in your bed because you got a favorite, influencer that you're just scrolling, you're not getting that, which creates more stress on your body, more anxiety. You're also not getting out, exercising and moving, getting those endorphins, which decreases depression and anxiety. And we're not even talking about now other parts of this that if you want to go into, we can go into the addiction taking into your sleeping patterns and your eating patterns and those sorts of things.
So what you're saying is that we've kind of the phones and we've kind of trained our brains to only become happy when we start scrolling and going on social media, and then when we try to go do other stuff in life, then we don't get that same sensation. We don't feel as happy. Like I know some kids that they need to play like 8 hours of video games, or they need to do this on their computer like as soon as they come home, otherwise they don't function, right, Mud?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, it's just like a drug, right? Like it's just like those hard drugs out there. They give you these big spikes of dopamine. They give you big spikes of hormones. And if you don't have it, you're going to go up and end up going into withdrawals. Now, I don't know that we're quite to the same degree of withdrawals, but people are getting unhappy. I mean, have you had friends that have lost their phones due to being grounded or something? And you can definitely tell by their mood that they're not the same.
Yeah.
It's the new withdrawals that we're going to be identifying, especially with young people today, because I bet you've got friends that are very small that have been given phones or given tablets and they're addicted.
The iPad kids.
Gen Alpha iPad kids.
Oh, yeah.
All they do, like, it's so sad. Like I was like saying, you know what? When we were little, all we had was the TV, and we would watch whatever was on. But now they can go from video to video to video, and they can't watch more than 20 seconds of a video because then they get bored, and then they go to the next one and the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And so, do you think that like the dopamine hits are more dangerous for kids than adults?
Yeah, actually, they definitely have shown that in a kid because the brain isn't as developed. It's not as stabilized with, honestly, the most simple solution, I think, is it's not stabilized with all the other stuff that an adult has to do, right? Like I got to think about what's my son doing? What's my business doing? What are we cooking for dinner? All these other pieces of the puzzle. So I can't sit and scroll all day. But those who do sit and scroll all day have massive increases in anxiety and depression. And if you're not familiar with those diagnoses, anxiety would be, you feel unsafe or you're worried. You're always thinking about, am I doing this right? Do people like me? Those sorts of things. That could be anxiety. And depression is kind of the lack of feeling, or it can be feeling sad or down all the time, not feeling fulfilled, feeling overwhelmed a lot. So these feelings can be associated with too much screen time. Yeah,
and I completely agree, because once like these new screens have been introduced into especially young people's hands, a rise of all of these like mental health
exactly
concerns. Like even in school, they teach you a lot about mental health, which is good because I'm guessing a long time ago, did they have the same, like, did you have to learn a lot about mental health? Like they would always talk about it, or is it just,
or is it new? Because I feel like what you're saying is that like after COVID, after 2020, the amount of like you look at the statistics, depression, anxiety, and mental illnesses, they shot up, and it like that's because one reason a lot of people are saying is because everyone was just stuck on social media. What do you think?
I think you're hitting the nail right on top of the head there. That is a huge difference. I can tell you, like I said, I'm 38 years old, so I guess I'm twice your age as you're the oldest one over there. I didn't remember hearing about anxiety or depression really being even a thing in children until I got maybe into my later years of high school. I didn't even know it existed. It's not to say that nobody experienced it, but I didn't even know it existed. Now, my mom ended up with chronic depression, so I knew of it a little earlier than other people, but hers was due to a lot of health crashes. So no, I mean, it was not a thought. Mental health was not talked about almost at all in the children perspective. And I don't know that I remember ever talking to kids that even mentioned signs or symptoms of depression or anxiety that were missed, because maybe, again, I'll be fair, as we've gotten better at medicine, as we've gotten better at diagnoses, as we've acknowledged mental health more, doctors and diagnoses are definitely getting stronger and better. But kids disconnecting from the things that used to bring health, such as, did you know that going outside and putting your feet on the ground is called grounding? This is something that the Eastern medicine providers, acupuncture, meridian therapy, Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, whatever type of medicine you want to pick, has been around for 5,000 years, and they've known this, that grounding, allowing negative ions out of your body that can be inflammatory and stressing, that can stress out your system, going outside, putting your feet on the ground allows those out of you. So there's actually studies that show putting your feet on the ground outside makes your blood work better. So when you're on a phone, not going outside, touching the dirt, playing in the sand, running around barefoot, you're actually decreasing an avenue for your body to clean itself out.
Yeah, and I think so. Basically, what you're saying is that also because of social media and phones and technology, less kids are going outside to play. I know we've talked a little bit about, like, in previous episodes, Raisin, about like how important play is, even, and not like video game play, but actually going outside and physical play, like using your brain in that way. Is that what you're saying?
I am saying that, yes. Going outside and, well, play is important for sure, but I'm talking about just the act of touching the ground. Like just simply being a little bit more in nature. And I'm not talking about it and being like nature makes you happy way, although that can happen. There are studies that show sounds of nature, even like at night, or looking out at nature, or breathing in different levels of clean air can be beneficial for you. I'm talking about somebody who's putting your skin on dirt on the ground allows for negative ions to leave your body. So it is a healthy habit to be outside playing. And if we're all stuck inside, we're not doing that. Another part of social media is, are you going to bed on time? Are you waking up on time? What are you doing when you wake up? What are you doing before you go to bed? So for instance, if you are scrolling before you go to sleep, it decreases your body's ability to get to sleep. So your body actually shouldn't be seeing blue light, which is the lights I'm shining on myself right now as I'm talking, the lights you're shining on yourselves. But the light your phone puts out is a blue light, which actually stimulates your brain to release hormones that keep you awake. So this is your cortisol. So this is an adrenal hormone that makes you stay awake. At night before bed, you should be producing melatonin, which people have probably heard of taking supplements of melatonin. Taking the supplement will not fix this problem. So you can't just scroll all night and then take the melatonin and go to sleep. You actually need to not have lights in your eyes. And what happens is, even if you were to fall asleep pretty quickly, you're not getting into the quality sleep as well. And there's tons of literature showing that kids need more sleep. I mean, shoot, I remember going to bed at 10 o'clock and sleeping all the way till noon the next day when I was young and having growth spurts. I didn't want to get out of bed. I know a lot of people listening right now, like, I'd like to sleep longer. I don't want my mom waking me up. But when you have the light in your eyes, it's not letting you go to sleep as well. And you're also not getting as quality as sleep. And I'm not even talking about those who, would scroll into the middle of the night because they get on scroll hole, and they're scrolling until 1 o'clock in the morning on their phone. And then when you wake up, what are you doing? Are you rolling over? Is your phone your alarm? Are you immediately going to social media so you can get your dopamine hit as soon as you wake up, which then just continues to create that pathway of addiction to the dopamine? And so now you're waking up immediately getting a hit of light to your eyes and a dopamine spike, which is going to increase your irritability and your anxiety, so your worries, by doing this to yourself and creating that pattern of dopamine spikes each morning.
Wow, you are amazing.
Amazing.
So a lot of kids want to be influencers. So to the kids who want to be influencers, what are some tips that you can tell them?
And should they become
if you want to be an influencer, which I never even knew was a thing growing up, right? Like social media, Facebook. And I know none of you use Facebook now, right? Facebook was released when I was in college. So now I feel old. I know. So it was released when I was in college. I'm like, I don't want to get on this thing. I don't want to tell people about my life, because here's what it was back then. People were talking about, oh, I'm going to the store. I'm going to do this. It was annoying. I'm like, I don't want any part of this. I get on social media, except for maybe putting a picture here or there or seeing what my friends were doing, until I got out of college, started my practice, and still didn't want to be a part of social media. Didn't want people to know what I was doing in my life. The reason why I got into social media was I wanted to be able to educate people. I wanted to be able to bring information to people that weren't getting it in other avenues. And actually now I teach people, especially doctors, how to do their own social media. And what it comes down to is you got to find something you're passionate about, that you love, and honestly, something that people want to listen to. So whether it's for me being a doctor, or my cousin being a guy that sells real estate, teaching people how to buy and sell properties to create wealth, or someone else with fashion and lifestyle, you've got to make yourself relatable. You've got to be very, very consistent. So you can't just do it one day and then stop, and then do it 2 weeks in a row and then stop, because these algorithms, they know what you're doing, and they pay you by increasing your engagement by, if you're there all the time. So you got to get consistent with it. Being an influencer is not just doing what you want, when you want, how you want. It's a job. It's being consistent. Before I jumped on this, I was actually walking around my home with the content that we created with my team, and I was recording that content. So we created a pretty good process. It is just a different kind of job, but nonetheless, it is a job. It gives you some freedom once you get there, but it takes quite a long time to build it up for most of us. It's taken me about 3 years to get over 500,000 followers on Instagram and 1 million on all of my different accounts. So if you want to be an influencer, start now. Create a structure around how often you're going to do it. Study your chosen social media, and make sure that you like to follow patterns and can be consistent. That's the two biggest things.
So we are now living with a leash, as 3 out of 4 Americans actually confess to using their phones on the toilet, with 96% of Gen Zers or Gen people or teens from Gen Z say that they can't actually go to the bathroom without their phone. And this phone-based life has actually affected our lives. It changes the way we think, the way we live, our lives. It changes, how we look at others. So you use social media, and we would love to know how you take care of your physical, mental, emotional health, and at the same time, balance social media.
First thing you got to do not look at your phone an hour before you go to bed. I talked about it a little bit earlier on the whys, but don't touch it. Put it off to the side. Don't keep it within 6 feet of your bed if you're going to keep it on. I always put my phone on airplane mode every single night, because it's bringing in a bunch of frequencies to it. And those frequencies actually have shown to keep you a little bit stimulated at night, which is not allowing you to get as restful sleep, which makes you less creative. And then your social media page, when you want to become an influencer, isn't as good because you're not as creative. So don't bring the social media to your bed. Don't have it on for 1 hour before, and make sure your phone is at least 6 feet away from your bed. So that's step one. Step two, when you wake up, do not immediately grab your phone and start scrolling. Create a morning routine that is healthy. Go to the bathroom without your phone. Go brush your teeth. Do all your morning hygiene products. Again, still without your phone. Go get some good quality food in you. I personally like to have a more protein fat-based meal. So whether that's eggs and bacon, whether that's avocado, whether, depending upon the type of diet that you eat, you want to have something in the morning that is satiating to you. I make sure that I spend some time in prayer before I go to bed and when I wake up in the mornings so that I can balance myself with what really is important to me, set my goals for the day. I'm in the right mindset before I get on social media. And then after that, if your job is social media, all right, jump on. But I like to say the first hour and the last hour of your day is away from social media. And making sure that you know your values, morals, and what your goals are is going to be so important. When you're young, it's going to be different than when you're older, right? My goals are to make sure that I can provide for my family and love on my kid. I can tell you what, like, it doesn't make sense for a lot of kids now, but the most incredible thing for me in my days when I can wake up, my little dude wakes up and I can walk in, he just reaches his arms up and I can pick him up and just snuggle him, get all that oxytocin hit because it makes me feel so happy and that love. There's just nothing like it. But when you're a kid, you don't have that. So sit down, even if you're waking up in the morning and you want to be an influencer, write out 5 or 10 ideas of what reels or what carousels or what TikToks you want to make. Because in the morning, your brain isn't full of all this other stuff that's going on throughout the day. You don't have school yet. You don't have classes going on. You didn't have mom or dad giving you your chores. So spend some time with a piece of paper, writing things down away from that blue light. And then once you've spent your time doing the things that I've talked about, then get on your phone and do what's necessary. But creating that bridge away from the social media allows for your brain to be more effective and not in the dopamine spikes looking for that addictive neurotransmitter, and allowing you to separate yourself and use all that brain power so that you can become the influencer you want to be or whatever else it is you want to be.
So when you think a kid should be introduced to social media?
Oh man, I'm going to get some hate for this. I am going to keep social media, phones, and TV away from my kid as long as I can. He's only 18 months now. And I just made the mistake this past weekend. He saw Danny go when he was at a friend of mine's house with their kid. This is a YouTube influencer. And I put it on because he loves it. And we were doing some different things with him and I was trying to take his mind off of what we were doing. And we were checking a few things, and he's smart. So he saw me grab the remote. He saw me turn it on. He saw that it was on YouTube. So now all weekend, grabbing the phone or grabbing the remote, bringing it to me, handing me the remote, pointing at the TV, making his little noises because he wants to watch it. So already he's got a little bit of that addiction. And I mean, he's 18 months old. So I mean, honestly, I would love to keep him away from social media into his teens if I could. We'll see what happens. He's so young now. We'll see where things go. But if I can get him outside, working on the land that we own, getting his hands in the dirt, being creative, getting some life experience, learning from grandpa how to do things in the yard, getting that creative play away from the social medias as long as I can. Like I said, into the teens if possible. But, I do know we live in a world of tech and social media and AI. And if you don't know how to use those things, it might take away from your ability to get jobs in the future, but we'll see.
Yeah, we can definitely relate to that.
Our little brother, he's like 2 years old.
He's 2 years old. He just turned 2, and
He doesn't even he's smart enough to find where the YouTube app is, but as soon as he gets his hand on the phone, he just starts scrolling. Even if it's not on, or it's on but it's not like it's on the home screen, he'll just try to scroll to try to get some of that dopamine. And if you try taking it away from him,
but we have tried our best to keep him away from it. It's just that he runs and finds his ways.
Kids are smart. They're so smart.
Also,
So, can you? What is one thing kids can do today to live healthier and with social media? Like one thing.
One thing to live healthier with social media, put limits on it. It's not an all day thing. Follow people that are going to build you up, right? Not whatever that brain crack was that the waitress is showing me. Follow something that helps you. If you want to be an influencer, go follow somebody that teaches influencers what to do, so you can start implementing something into your life versus scroll hole, never ending, useless information. At least if you're going to use social media, make it worthwhile. I know for myself, if you looked at my social media, it's a few things. It's healthy people teaching what they're doing so I can learn more, because sometimes that's what I'm looking for. It's my hobby, doing things around my house and using tools and different materials of how to build a house because I'm just intrigued by that. That's something I enjoy. And then it's other people doing business tasks. So I follow a lot of business building people, and I'm always looking for what they did to become successful. So when I'm on there, I'm at least learning and I'm challenging my brain. And then I end up going and implementing those things in my life. Somebody said the other day to me, the number one difference between people that are successful and not successful is the amount of time it takes them to finish a task. Because you realize the average person versus someone that's brilliant doesn't take that much different in task implementation time, like to get it done. The biggest difference between people that are successful or not is the people that just start doing it when they think about doing it versus the people that put it off for a long period of time and don't actually get started. He's like, so just get started. I implemented that immediately, and I've been twice as productive. So if you're going to be on social media, make it productive.
so remember, just get started. It's that easy.
And be on social media for a purpose.
Yes.
So now let's recap Dr. Moore's key points. Teens are at a crucial stage of development where our bodies are going through incredible changes in our personality, cognition, and biology. So the brain is vulnerable to the internet and consuming media. Tech is affecting our dopamine. It gives us happiness that can get you addicted. Then you are now constantly searching for more. It is incredibly addictive. Then it makes everything else in life not as good. So then it can also affect your exercise, sleep, and nutrition.
If you're going to be using social media, create a routine away from getting social media to make sure you don't get addicted.
Create a healthy morning routine. Don't look at your phone immediately when you wake up. Eat a nourishing meal, pray and meditation before bed, and create a list of goals, inspirations, and dreams that make sure everything you do aligns with that.
Get outside and touch the grass,
Touch
especially
grass.
for great gamers. Get outside in nature.
Blue light makes your body stay awake. It kind of tricks the body into thinking that it's morning. Don't look at your phone an hour before you go to bed. Put your phone on airplane mode, and your phone should be at least 6 feet away from your bed.
Put limits on your social media. Follow people that will build you up and that helps you.
If you want to become an influencer, be consistent. Being a social media influencer is a full-time job. Write 5 or 10 ideas of what reels that you want to be beneficial. Write it down in the morning away from your blue light.
If you are going to be using social media, make it worthwhile. Make sure you are learning and challenging your brain and then implement it into your life. It will increase your success.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moore. This was so inspirational.
So inspirational.
We know that you're so incredibly busy, so we are thankful for your time and wisdom today.
And also, where can people follow you and your work?
Yeah, so you can follow me on most social medias, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok at Dr. Jaban Moore. So that's me, Dr. Jaban Moore. and just follow me on any of those.
So definitely go check that out.
Go check that out.
Like right now.
Go. Like, what are you still doing here? Go. And thank you everyone for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Zansari.
I'm Abdullah.
And I'm Iman.
Follow my family and I on social media, Holistic Momdy, and stay tuned for our new book that's coming out 2025 called The Teen Health Revolution. Kids need to learn from other kids. Please download our podcast on iTunes and leave a review so other kids and families can benefit. We need to work together to create a healthy future for all of us and the planet. Join us next week for another episode of the Holistic Kid Show, where kids are empowering kids.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.